What's up, YouTube? Today we have my friend here, Chance, who does not like being called Chase.
Oh, God. I'm going to kill Danny if he calls it me again.
We'll get Danny's profile too, and he'll probably call you that in it. But can you tell me what deck you ran and what place you did at the Seattle Regionals?
So I placed 98th. I wanted to play a little bit different in the meta. I know that sounds annoying like every rogue player ever, but I really liked the Kaijus and actually using the Kaiju effects, but I found that just by themselves they were a little too slow. So I actually ran an Alistair Kaiju deck, and that's pretty much it. I really focused on using their field spell along with Alistair's field spell to create kind of a giant board that I can deal with anything.
So this is his first regional, and I figured if I don't do a deck profile of one of my friends who runs a janky deck, then I guess we're not JankyYGO then. So
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about his place. It's just him doing a deck profile so he gets used to doing it.
Well, I mean, I placed 98, which isn't too bad for my first regional out of 230 people. So it's still, I still, bumped above average.
Oh yeah, you're
and
pretty
I'm
proud
happy
of
with
yourself. Yeah.
A lot of my problems came down to misplays more than like deck problems. It wasn't that I couldn't handle the meta or other decks that people were throwing at me. It was just I was inexperienced and I didn't know where the chain starts and where it began, and how to stop it.
So, all right, let's get right into it.
All
And if you do it right there in the middle and just keep stacking them on top of each other, we're good.
All right. So my main monster obviously is Alistair. I only ran 2 copies. They searched themselves with other cards. So I really didn't need to run 3. I'm thinking about running 3, but I haven't figured out yet.
Okay.
And then my favorite of the Kaijus is the Thunder King. He's a giant monster, and the meta right now has such a hard time dealing with him because if you just throw a 3300 beater up there, I mean, what are you going to do? On top of that, his ability allows you to remove 3 counters from anywhere on the field, and you can essentially keep your opponent from activating any more effects, and he can attack up to 3 monsters.
Evenly match isn't going to hit you, huh?
No, he stops evenly match in its tracks, and I never actually saw an evenly matched when I fought a deck and used him.
Nice.
My next one is Raiden. That's the one I wanted to give my opponent the most. I run 2 copies of him. I kind of want to put another one in, just like I want to put another Thunder King in. Because I can give him to my opponent, and my opponent can't do anything with my counters. The big problem with Kaijus is the fact that if you have their field spell up with counters and you give them that, like if you give them a Gamma Seal like everyone's doing right now, your opponent can now start negating and banishing your own stuff. So.
Yeah.
Next one is Dogaran. He's another great one because, again, I can give him my opponent. His ability allows you to essentially remove counters and board wipe. He's a really good monster just for Universal. I ran 2 Godarlas today. I wasn't a giant fan of the Wind Invoked monster that everyone hyped up. I did it because it was suggested, and honestly, I just never used him, and I rarely ever summon Godarla. His ability is really good. He allows you to cut your opponent's monsters in half. But I'll probably cut him down to 1, realistically speaking, and so that I can fit Thunder King or Raiden in. I ran one of the Kamungus. He's one of the smaller ones, so I could hit over him with Makaba, and it wasn't really an issue. But I don't know. I just don't really focus too much on those ones because their effects aren't super great.
Yeah.
Gamma Seal obviously is the main one. I really like to use next to Thunder King. His ability allows you to remove 2 counters from anywhere off the field, negate and banish any card that activates. It doesn't say once per turn, so you can actually use it multiple times per chain.
We found that out the other night, didn't we?
I didn't know that for regionals. I thought it was once per chain, and so that's what I was doing, and I think that might have cost me a few games. Because if I had known that when they tried to Ghost Ogre it, I could have just negated and banished the Ghost Ogre instead of having to use Makaba's one of.
Yeah.
So, and then I ran the Spellbook engine on top of it. I ran 2 of the Blue Boys. They were like really, really good. They're an easy 2 copies of. They speed the deck up.
Had to get that second copy at the last minute, right?
Yeah, Steafen actually gave it to me literally like right before I wrote up my deck list, just because I needed that little bit of extra speed.
Yeah, we talked about it the night before, and I was like, yeah, when we get the event, I'll find another card. And
yeah, it was one of those things that, like, if I didn't have the Spellbook engine, it bricks the deck. Kaijus have a tendency to brick as it is, so you need something to recycle. Ghost Ogre, obviously your number 1 hand trap. It's just such a good card. I really wish I had an Ash, but I don't, so I actually just run 2 effect Veilers. They work really good against Paleozoic frogs. You just Veiler the first frog that pops on the board, and they can't.
Did you encounter any of them?
I actually didn't, which was really annoying. But they work really well against the Musketeers as well. Because my turn would start, I would drop a effect dealer, and then they couldn't do anything with that.
Yeah, they had to immediately respond to it, and if they couldn't, then,
then
they had no turn left.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
So 2 invocations. Again, 3 is a big one. It's between 2 or 3. I didn't have the money for 3 of them at the moment, so I just had 2 works. They recycle themselves. If your opponent banishes both copies or deals with it and you can't do anything, then you're kind of screwed.
Fall back on the Kaijus, huh?
Exactly. I get a fallback on the Kaijus. And then I run 2 Magical Meltdowns. Pretty universal field spell. Allows you to search out Alistair. It allows you to do all the other searching. And then it protects your fusion. I run 3 Terraformings. Got to have all the search for the field spells. The 2 Kyoto Waterfronts. I like it matched perfectly with my Magical Meltdown because this card essentially allows you to do half your plays. The really cool part is I can play that, get 3 counters using the Spellbook engine, and then I get a search a Kaiju, and I can essentially make any of Alistair's invoked monsters just by picking which Kaiju I want out of my deck.
That's pretty cool.
1 Soul Charge, obviously, a little bit of recovery. It was really nice. I actually got to bring 2 Macabas out in the field at one point.
Oh, that sounds sick.
2 Macabas and a Gamma Seal, and your opponent's not doing anything that turn.
Man, I mean, 3,000 life points seems pretty easy to justify that for. I mean...
Well, I had already had 1 on my Link Zone. Gamma Seal was already on my board. I only paid $1,000 for the Macaba, so I was like, whatever, it's not even an issue. I run 2 Twin Twisters. Got to have the back row removal. Solemn Warning gets me pretty hard. Solemn Strike gets my Kaijus pretty hard too.
Oh yeah, I can imagine getting struck whenever you've given them a Kaiju, and then go to summon your own. They're like, strike you, and you're like, nope.
Yeah, I just sit there and I don't do anything. It really stuns the deck. So honestly, I'll run 3 if I even find that my opponent plays a back row, because I have no problem wiping him out. I'm not really afraid of the artifacts too much. Like, if I can't summon from the extra deck, I'll just summon my Kaiju.
You ever thought of running Cosmics instead?
I wanted to run 1 to 2 Cosmics, but I didn't know, really didn't think about it until last minute. So.
Yeah. All right.
And then I run 2 Knowledge and 2 Secrets.
Obviously, for the Spellbook engine.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a +1 in card economy with deck digging. Exactly. I use it in Paleozoics, so...
Exactly, and with Waterfront, it's an automatic... If you get the 3-card combo going, it's an automatic 3 counter. So,
yep.
I run 2 Pot of Desires. It's such a combo extender. I couldn't justify running 3. It hurt me too much.
Not many people can.
No, but running 2 was a perfect amount. I run 2 Scapegoats. I do run a pretty heavy Link-based deck as well in my extra deck, and it really allowed me to make Borload, which is such a beast. If I didn't have my own Kaiju, I could actually just Kaiju there, use Borload to take the Kaiju back, and then start using its abilities to go off.
Nice.
So, Scapegoat was just kind of an easy one to put in. 1 Regeki, and then 1... Kaiju Slumber. Obviously, I run so many Kaijus, it wouldn't make sense not to run Slumber.
Did you think of running Dark Hole at any point, too, for more board wipe going second?
I kind of thought about it, but I didn't really like the idea of taking out my own cards, just because if I board wipe like that, it hurts me more than it hurts my opponent.
Yeah.
Because my deck is so reactive that, I literally have to have my opponent have a board most of the time for me to do anything. And then I run 2 Strikes and then 1 Warning.
I know we had to track that down for you at the last minute.
This is a super...
It's your favorite rarity, too, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm one of the only people that likes Platinum Rarity.
I like it. I believe that was my warning that ended up in Danny's binder, so...
I'm not sure. I want to get Platinum Rarity Veilers, too. I think they look super...
I'll dig through my stuff and see if I have any. I might have
they're
one
not
or 2.
Uncommon and they're not that expensive.
So let's move on to the sideboard, then.
All right. So
if you want to delve into that.
For sideboard, I did, like I said, 1 more Twister, just because I like the ability to take out the back row.
Yep.
1 Effect Veiler, because I'm already running 2 main board, and if I find that I don't have to kill their cards to hurt their deck, but I want them to have a monster on board to Kaiju, I'll just swap a Ghost Ogre for a Veiler.
Seems respectable.
I like... Ghost Ogre's cool because he kills any card, but at the same time, I have to react to their deck. So,
yep.
And then I have 3 Chaos Hunters.
Danny made us all put those in. He went and bought them. You guys are playing this card.
It was a very last-minute sideboard, and honestly, I never needed it. But I think the only time I ever actually used Chaos Hunter was against a Masked Hero deck. I just happened to throw it in my deck to see what it did.
Oh, that's really good against their boss monster, Darklaw.
Stop their boss monster for a turn, and so he couldn't banish my cards. And then I just Kaiju'd the boss monster for the next turn. So boss monsters don't faze me in the slightest. 1 Floodgate Trap Hole. It really hurt Magical Musketeers when they played their monsters.
You ever thought of running more than 1 in the sideboard?
I did, but again, couldn't track it down last minute.
Yeah, I didn't know, or else I probably would have thrown you one.
Exactly. It's one of those cards that it just does so good against a lot of the cards right now because they have to
I
have
didn't think
face-up
of Floodgate for Magical Musketeers. That would have been nice.
Yeah, when I went up against Magical Musketeers, I focused on getting the Wind Invoked Monster Raiden and then the Floodgate Trap Hole, and then I just start Book of Mooning so they couldn't activate their effects.
Yep.
System down, I ran 2 of just because ABCs, and they just destroy ABCs. So.
Yep.
1 Torrential Tribute. Again, it was mostly for the Musketeers and Swarm decks.
And when you're going first, it's nice to put traps in. You
exactly.
know, like
so it builds a board. They build a board and then just wipe you. You know, it just destroys all. So, 1 Imperial Order.
I feel like it hurts you, but if you've already set up, it's fine.
I've never used it. Danny made me put it in there, but I hate the fact that it costs you so much. I actually had an opponent round 2 kill themselves essentially because they brought down their life points to 100, and then I just Kaiju'd and attacked over it.
Yep.
And I only did 300 damage that entire game, and I beat them. So, 1 Jar of Avarice. I like this card if they're making me throw hands away. There's a lot of times where like they're just making me discard and do stuff like that. But I can just recycle my invoked monsters if I have to, or I'll recycle my own kaijus to search them again.
All right.
The 3 of the Water Time Lords. So my biggest problem, and probably the only deck that I consistently can never win against, is Pendulum Magicians. And that's because they build such a swarm that I just can't keep up with.
You just got to get rid of their spells and traps and deal with them.
And so that's why I use Steafen. You normal summon him, attack, their spells are gone, and then I can start doing
things. I mean, it forces the plays for the Paleozoic player, too, you know.
Exactly. And so I don't really...
Continuing.
Alright, so, you know, like I was saying, he can attack just about every one of the kaijus if you have an Alistair in hand and attack it over. So he's really helpful for that. His ability is he's just a beast in general. I run 2 of the wind ones, Raiden, I can't exactly pronounce that. He's okay. He works really well against some decks, and then some decks he just doesn't do anything to.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's good. I just don't focus on him, and I'm probably going to cut him down to 1. Cactus, or however you pronounce his name, the water invoked monster, is probably one of my favorite. He's not targetable by your opponent's card effects, and he cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's monster's card effects. You always play him in defense mode because he can attack as if he was in attack mode. So he's a 2900 defender, essentially. They can attack with 1800 attack. It's just a good card. If you're worried about against Paleozoic frogs, he stops them in their tracks.
Oh yeah, you get rid of the Ronin and they cry. I've done it.
Yeah, exactly. If I can stop the Ronin Totem, and really there's very few cards in their deck that can handle it. So because it's essentially a 3900 wall.
Continuing on.
I run 1 of Kaliga. Kaliga is... I have mixed feelings about Kaliga.
People say he's terrible.
People say he's terrible, but if you're going first, you don't know what your opponent does. He's a great turn 1, round 1 card. If you're going first, you don't know what your opponent is playing, and you just want to play it safe, I'll just invoke, throw a Raiden away, the Dark Kaiju away, or something else, make him, and then just put him in defense mode and let him sit. Because no matter what, if my opponent doesn't deal with him, they can only use 1 monster effect.
Yep.
They can only attack once. And if you have an Alistair in hand, he's 2800 defense, which is, for turn 1, pretty bulky. Purgatrio in some situations works really well against the Magician deck because he gains 200 for every, or 2 to 300 against 300. It is 3 for every card on their field and can attack all of those once. On top of that, he deals piercing damage. So if your opponent sets up a Pendulum Magician board and you somehow deal with their back row, and then you can get this on the field, then he's going to do a lot of damage.
Or if they play Scapegoat and you just go Purgatrio, I win.
Yeah, exactly. If my opponent plays a Scapegoat because I destroy it, then I can just Purgatrio, and he does an astronomical amount of damage. I didn't go into him too much at regionals, but I know at a lot of local events I'll use him. Again, he's just a good one to have 1 up. The Earth Invoked Monster, I mean, who doesn't want a 3,000 beater, 4,000 if you drop an Alistair?
Finisher.
He's a finisher, for sure. There was round 4, the guy that I had made scoop, game 2, I had Borload, him, and I had dropped 2 Alistairs to make him 5,000, and then Thunder King on the field. And that's why my opponent just scooped and walked out, because he was 5,000 attack, Borload was 3,000, and then Thunder King had used his ability so my opponent could no longer interact that turn. So, getting to the Link monsters, like I was just saying, Borload. Borreload is probably my favorite Link monster. Really the only one that I focus on using. I like Link, but I haven't found any Link cards I'm crazy about except for Borreload. He's a monster. Your opponent can't target him by monster effects. He can drop their attack 500 permanently, and can take your opponent's monster if you can't attack over it at that point.
Yep.
So he's just a great card. And with Scapegoat, he's an easy a Scapegoat Borreload Dragon next turn. If I have Kyoto Waterfront on the field and I go into Borreload, I'm for sure getting a Kaiju in my hand. So,
yep.
Decode Talker, great defensive monster. I mean, I don't even...
Everyone just runs Decode.
Exactly,
I mean, he's just good. Yeah.
I run 2 Link Spiders and 2 Proxy Dragons. I don't need to run 2 Proxy Dragons, but I do it if I have to... if I want to get Makaba on the field and I already have an invoked monster, because I can normal summon Alistair, get an invocation in my hand, go into Proxy Dragon, and then that sends Alice to the graveyard, invoked the Alistair and the Proxy Dragon to make Makaba. So he's a good card just to have an extra one of, and if my opponent for some reason strikes the Proxy Dragon, which I actually had happen, they tried to stop me from going into it, I just said okay and continued to make it with a different Proxy Dragon. So it didn't really faze me.
Nice.
So
And that's your whole extra?
So yeah, that's all of my deck. That would be the sideboard. I have got a lot of work I want to do on it. I definitely know, just like everyone else, I need evenly matched. It stops Pendulum Magicians in its tracks in just about every other Swarm deck. I mean, any deck in general. The only part that I'm trying to figure out on how to work with it is with a field spell, because then I can't use it from my hand, and then they get 2 cards on the field, but it's really the only card that I found stops Pendulum Magicians for my deck. If I don't have it, then I'm not doing anything against them. So the deck's still got some practice. It's still got some tweaking. I definitely need Ash, of course. But yeah, so I'm really happy. I'm going to continue to take this to regionals and hopefully to nationals if I make it. But yeah.
Any shout-outs?
I just want to say thanks to DCP Games. They are always doing a lot for us. We're always here. So Dan's always really helpful. You guys should definitely check them out. They've got a great online store. So.
Yep. And then that's all. I would show my face, but Michael has informed me that we don't show our faces because we don't do that.
They'll get there eventually.
Yep. So that's this, and I'll string this video together because my phone is terrible. Catch you guys next time. And if it's your birthday today, happy birthday.